All right, well, my bio sort of gave a very brief introduction of this project, but my primary job with the city, this is my side project, is doing Michigan Green Communities, but is working on Ann Arbor's Sustainability Framework project. And sort of our tagline for this is, it really isn't a new plan. Ann Arbor's done a lot of great planning in the past and historically has charged forward with some sustainability initiatives that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. But we have 26 different plans and 226 goals within those plans. So where do we go from there, and how are you really setting priorities and tracking progress if you have that many goals? So we're looking at this as a reorganizational tool for what we already have, and how can we build on and make better the goals that we already have. So we've said we come up with 2 deliverables at the end of this project. It's actually an 18-month project funded fully by the Home Depot Foundation. And it's going to have a sustainability framework, which is primarily going to be an online tool, but also will be a short document that summarizes the city's key goals. And then that will have an action plan that ties into this well, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But just in terms of what we're trying to accomplish with this framework, is really how do you organize all of these goals and make sure that you have overarching goals, targets tied to those goals, and actions, and how do you use that to guide where we're going with city planning. Secondly, how do you access sustainability goals? And that goes, how do our council members know what our goals are? How does our staff know what the goals are? How does the public interact with our goals? Right now we have 26 plans. There's not a central location where you can find all of them on our website. So how does the public engage with the goals that we already have? And then lastly, how do you really institutionalize sustainability into what we do on an everyday basis? Our day-to-day decision making, how do we think about our sustainability goals across the city? We have 26 plans. Staff has different levels of familiarity with those plans. So this is just the first part of it, which is a year, is the framework timeline. Phase 1, we really started with talking to people, had interviews with over 25 different city staff members. It's about creating that buy-in. You can't create just another document, another website, another tool that sits on the shelf. You really, we felt the need to get our staff involved as to what they would use in goal setting, and to what they thought about our current goals already. Secondly is pulling together all the plan goals, putting them in one place and looking at what goals are converging, what goals are conflicting, and how do we really start to think about that process. And then in pulling all those goals together, the third phase is sort of, where do we need to improve on? We do have 226 goals, but there's got to be something that we're probably not looking at, and how do we pull that in? And then obviously we'll be working on presenting this framework both to the public, to our staff, and to our council members and commissioners as well. And then at the end, we'll have a 6-month process where we'll be doing a action plan. The main purpose of that is to prioritize some of these goals that we're going to come up with in the framework, and then draft an action plan so that there are clear targets that we can see. And the idea would be to tie it in with the 2-year budget. We've talked a lot about making that connection between projects and the economic benefits, the savings. How do we fund things? That's a big focus. So if we can tie this in, our priorities in with the budget, that's a good timeline for us to reevaluate projects and think about what we're doing. And then with any project, once again, you can't just let it sit on the shelf. You really need to make sure that there's a mechanism to follow through to reevaluate that 2-year plan each time. So we need to make sure that we leave this project with something to do that. So whether that's an environmental management team, a group of commissioners, there needs to be something in place. So we've thought about it in terms of these 26 plans and the evolution of planning. Departmental planning, systems planning, and integrated systems planning is where we're headed towards. And Arbor used to have 14 different departments. That's probably why we have 26 different plans. You know, there was a time and place for all of them. Everyone needed something to guide their work, to guide their performance and track what they're doing. And Arbor recently reorganized into sort of pulling systems together so that people could have more interaction with each other in terms of different areas of the city that they were working on similar things. So we now have 4 service areas. We're getting better. But how do you then get those service areas to communicate with one another? It happens very informally in Ann Arbor right now, which is great, but there does need to be some sort of institutionalization of it that really makes it into our everyday day-to-day decision making. I just threw that up there so you could really get a magnitude of all the plans that we have. How do you get this many plans to match our organizational structure, which has changed so much, but not all of these plans have been updated. They're approved by various different bodies, by councils, by commissions. We have a student project that we've referred to in a number of ways. So how do you integrate all of these plans into one overarching framework? So I wanted to talk a little bit about indicators as well, and where did we start with this framework? Ann Arbor has 10 environmental goals. They're not tied to any clear targets. They do have indicators linked to them, and they're council approved. They came out of our environmental commission. So we have this starting point, this set of some goals that were agreed upon by council and are tied to some measurements. All of this is in our State of the Environment report, and this is just a way for residents to even look and get more details on the indicators we have. So you can flip through and get all of the information about where these came from. But they're really not broader than environmental indicators right now, so we still need to expand and get that economy, those equity indicators, and that triple bottom line thought of sustainability. But just wanted to give you a little detail of how it's laid out. We have a goal, responsible resource use, zero waste. Then you have an indicator, and then the State of the Environment report shows how we're trending. Are we doing well? And then are we improving? Are we declining? That key's there at the bottom. And that's all online that you're welcome to look up as well. So we have the environmental indicators and gave us a clear starting point, but you can see this current organization. We have a goal and we have an indicator, and that's great because we're measuring our progress, but where we're leaning towards is making sure that we have a goal, a broad overarching statement, that we have a target that's giving us something more tangible to work towards, and that we have actions that are helping us achieve those targets. And then the indicators are just sort of, they fit within that model in terms of measuring. So we worked with a staff working group to organize into 4 planning areas, and what we came up with was climate and energy, community, land use and access, and resource management. And this is, we tried to stay away from just sticking with the equity, environment, economy, because we wanted to highlight that integrated piece of it. And this is more of just an organizational tool. What 4 buckets can we stick our goals in so that staff knew where to go to for a bucket? Recognizing that everything is interconnected, that goals overlap, but how do we increase that level of transparency so that staff is talking about goals in the same way, the public has a clearer view of where the goals are, and just how do we roll things out from there. So I mentioned we interviewed over 25 city staff members. We've also put together 1-page summaries of every one of our single city plans, and those were put together by staff. We asked them to prioritize their top 10 goals. So a lot of the plans that meant cutting out goals. Once again, it's not a new plan. We're not replacing the goals. We're not taking them away. But we wanted a snapshot of every plan so that if we had a new commissioner come on, we could hand them this document, and that would just be a starting place so that they would know what some of our goals are. We also formed an internal staff working group, and we've also been posting regular blogs about this entire process so that we push that out to our commissioners. I've heard from a couple members of our public that they are reading it, but you never know how that level of engagement goes. And then about a month ago today, actually, we held a joint commission meeting where we brought together our energy, environment, planning, and park advisory commissions together to prioritize goals. Got one commissioner that attended, so maybe you can offline ask him how it went. It was the first time we brought together those 4 commissions for any gathering, and we gave them the 226 goals, broke them out into small breakout sessions, and asked them what their priorities were and if they thought these planning areas worked. And it went pretty well. It was hard to prioritize given that we gave an exhaustive list of the 226 goals. We didn't try to pare anything down. And that's really our next step, is to consolidate some of those goals. If we have 15 goals on flooding, is there a better way we can say that and get it to be something that we can prioritize? And then the commissioners actually asked that we pull together a committee of them, 2 from each of the commissions, and we have a working group to extract some overarching goals and to help identify these big goals for the city to work on. And then we could bring it back to them and they could prioritize some. So I think that's just a quick overview. I saw my 1-minute sign, so I do have contact information on here. And then once again, the State of Our Environment report is online. And if you want to click on our blog and read a little bit more about what we're doing, that's out there for you as well.